Angela Christine. So good to so good
Hello.
so good to see you again. Just you know, I'm starting a new channel. This is going to be on like a Tony Stewart conversation channel on YouTube. And I've just been, for the most part, my whole social media presence has been in the carnivore space, and I think it's time to expand because a lot of times we get labeled, especially in the like just very from the ancestral perspective, like meat-based caveman attitude, and it's not. And I mean, I've had somewhat of a spiritual awakening, and I know you are the meat-based medium. So we met doing a podcast collaboration about mold, and we got a chance to talk after that podcast, and like, wow, we need to talk. So I'm so thankful and blessed that you could come on this and have a chat with me today. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Tony, for inviting me. This is such an amazing opportunity to discuss other important things when it comes to health. We all in the carnivore space, especially, we all know that metabolic health is really, it's kind of like the big trend right now. Everybody's focusing on metabolic health, and in our area, it's all about diet. And I think that that's really important because we need to be on a proper human diet. We need to be eating food that loves us back, that we love, because a lot of us are eating stuff that's not exactly in alignment with what our body needs. And so while we all know that carnivore has been miraculous to so many of us in our healing journey, but I do believe it's time to also look at some other things that are just as important, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said something there that really it's been coming up in my space lately is alignment. And I just did a video on how actually connected we are from a molecular elemental level. It's just a giant recycling exchange, like we're from the sun to the earth to the hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. Some of this carbon net zero doesn't make any sense at all to me, because without carbon dioxide, where's the plant life on the planet, which is just ridiculous. But it is, and I think there's something that sort of separates us, and that would be a spiritual sense or a consciousness, or an awareness that I think we get labeled. And I've had a couple conversations where I've had to hold back because people think that they come into this way of like the killing, murdering, and the consummation of animals is actually a bad
Mm.
thing. And it's I think it would be wrong for me just to jump and say no, that's wrong. But it's to analyze it and to see where it all comes from, because I for one don't agree with that. I think there's an element to what we eat. There may be an argument about how much we need, and obviously I'm not a fan and I'm not supporting battery farming. I'm not like the feedlots and all that stuff. There's that side of it, but I think when we get back to a natural thing, there is that different element. And I think we get falsely labeled because you mentioned, we've seen, talking to people in the space, and I know you help people do this with metabolic health. It's undeniable, the health benefits that are possible. It's undeniable. And I think just to throw that in and to say we're not supposed to do this, that's crazy. Like I don't agree with that at all. So I'm interested to hear your take on things, because coming, like, when you're, let's just go right into it, because I want
Yeah,
to
let's
know
do it.
how you why
Let's do
you
it.
labeled yourself the meat-based medium, and like what do you mean by that? What is that?
Yeah. Well, I will let's dive in. There's two parts to that story, right? I have been a medium my entire life. It started back in childhood. I had a very powerful clairvoyant father who was super intuitive, super psychic,
Mm,
super gifted in all ways with his spirituality, mediumship, and intuition. And as a little girl, I think around maybe 4 or 5, I started to notice that I started to develop the same intuitive gifts, if you want to call them. At the time, I didn't really find them to be called as gifts. I called them a curse because I didn't understand what was
Mm,
happening when I was seeing things. Was like, well, am I really seeing things, or am I really knowing things? Am I really having these experiences? Because when you're young, you're 4 or 5 years old, and you're like sleeping in your room and you see something, you're freaking out. And I felt like at the time, the only person that really understood me was my father, because he
mm,
was also, aware of, I think he was also aware of what I was going through.
yeah.
Um, so, as I grew up, when I went from between childhood to teenage years, it was something that always stuck with me, and it was kind of like a big secret, but I had a couple friends that knew. My mom also knew, but she didn't really start to understand or know until I was a teenager, like until I was like 14. Um, but my friends were very also kind of intuitive too. So it was kind of like when you have like your little group of friends that you're all kind of magical, but you don't really know if you're just being kids or if this is like really real.
Mm,
Um, but if I look back at the things that I was interested, I remember on my 10th birthday, my 10th birthday, I had a seance in my bedroom. What
okay.
10-year-old? I'm in fourth grade having a seance
Mm,
with
mm.
my friends. I sent two of them home with an asthma attack because they were that scared. And my mom's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I was having a seance." Like,
Yeah.
what 10-year-old knows how to have a seance? But this 10-year-old, she sure did. Um,
And
and
and and did anything appear at that seance to
oh,
get
it sure
them?
did. It
Oh,
sure
yeah.
did. And my dad passed away when I was 9. So
Mm,
there was a part when he passed away, there was that part of myself that also felt like it passed away too. But I remember on my 10th birthday, which was about 6 months after he passed, I think I was trying to embrace these gifts because I wanted to keep some sort of connection
mm,
with him. And I just think subconsciously that was my one way of doing it,
mhm,
not really knowing what I was doing. I'm sure now that I know what I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have really injured a lot of us just by inviting in energy that I didn't really know how to work with.
mhm,
Um, but then, as like I said, as I continued to grow up, there was a lot of other spiritual elements that started to come forward in my life and things that I was interested in. And then, fast forward to high school, you kind of push it back, and then college, you really suppress it. And then fast forward, I'm 28 years old and I get really sick with breast cancer.
okay.
And I remember just, you know, like when you get sick, and Western medicine, that was one of the first times Western medicine really failed me, to my acknowledgement. I feel like Western medicine failed me my entire life. But to me, that was when I was really struggling. And it took
Mm,
Western medicine a really long time to find my cancer because none of my mammogram was clean, my blood work was clean, my ultrasound was clean. And then it wasn't until they went and did a surgical biopsy because my nipple was bleeding, where they found that
wow.
there was cancer. And the cancer, thankfully, was in early stages, but it was very aggressive. So
Mm,
I had to have a mastectomy. And at the time, I didn't know that I had like undiagnosed Lyme disease. I didn't know that I was dealing with a genetic disposition called SIRS, which we talked about in our
yeah,
last
yeah.
podcast.
Chronic inflammatory response syndrome, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I know that I had all of that. So while I was going through all of the cancer and the surgeries and the reconstruction and antibiotics and all those things, I started to get really sick and I started to have severe mast cell activation and histamine intolerance. But again,
Yeah.
at that time, this was 2013 to give reference. like
Mhm.
none of this stuff was really talked about then. Like
No,
we
that's
weren't talking
just
about
normal
SIRS, we
symptoms.
weren't
Yeah,
talking about this, we we're just talking, I mean,
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
So
I don't feel
my
well.
ca-
Yeah, whatever, it's in your head.
yeah, yeah. So I then went to my cancer center because they offered a lot of psychosocial support classes, and one of the things that they offered was Reiki.
Okay.
And I went one day and I met this woman from Brazil, and she walked up to me and she goes, "You know why you're sick?" And I just looked at her and I'm like, "I have cancer." Like, that's why I'm sick.
Right.
And she goes, "No, it's because you're not using your gifts." And
Wow.
it was the most profound moment in my life, I will say, because I'm standing in the middle of my cancer center and I just at that point, the cancer was gone, but I had all these other symptoms that I didn't know that were related to the mast cell, and I was going
Mhm,
into anaphylaxis, and I was, you chronically fatigued. I had no brain fog. Brain fog was off the charts. I didn't know that I probably was having a Lyme flare,
mhm.
and on top of the post-cancer syndrome, which that's what they called it. Um,
Okay.
so it was really, yeah, right, exactly, post-cancer syndrome.
Thanks,
Um,
doc, right?
but but it was like, even though I'm standing this middle of this cancer center and I'm talking to this woman, it was like the first thing that she said. I just remember breaking down in the middle of the room because it was like as if somebody just ripped me out of a closet. Like,
Wow.
it's the best way I could put it. It was like as
Mhm,
if I was hiding in a closet, and then I never knew how to access those gifts. I had shoved them down so far. I
mhm.
wanted to just be normal. I was in a relationship at the time too, so of course, even though he knew I was into spirituality and
Yeah.
energy, and he knew a little bit about my past with my dad, but it wasn't something that was a forefront of our relationship. And at the time I was working in the fashion industry, so I've always been in like the design. I was in fashion marketing and styling, and so I was in a very different world, which
Mhm.
I guess we can go back to that word in alignment. I wasn't in alignment. I thought I was in alignment because I
Yeah.
thought I was pursuing my passion, but I wasn't in alignment with my soul.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so when I heard this from my healer, her name is Andrea,
Mhm.
and I just, I cried and I said, like, I knew exactly what she meant, but I told her that my teacher died when I was 9 years old. And she said, "Well, when the student's ready, the
The
teacher
master appears.
appears, the master
Absolutely.
appears." And so I just remember looking at her like, oh my gosh. And I worked with her
Hmm,
for every week for 9 months, going and receiving Reiki treatments from her. And the
hmm.
medication that I was on at the time was completely like, I needed less and less and less just by working
Yeah.
with her. And I knew at the time, I'm like, I know that I know what she's saying, but like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. And I just, after 9 months, I just opened my eyes after one of my sessions with her and I said, I think I'm supposed to leave the fashion industry and I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed my mission, which is to do this work. And I remember that moment with her because she had been feeling this for so long that when I finally had that realization, for her it was like, oh my gosh, finally, she had her awakening.
Yeah.
And so I started studying with her and she gave me a bunch of books, The Power of Now. What was like the first book that I read by Eckhart Tolle. Um, and then I started really training with her to learn how to become a Reiki practitioner.
Okay.
And then I started working with my other Reiki mentor, who was the host of the Reiki Circle that was at the cancer center. So
Okay.
Andrea was a volunteer there, but then I worked with her separately. But there was a man that was hosting the circle, who also lived locally to me. His name was Brian. And so once I started to train with Andrea, I was working then with Brian to help me with trusting the intuitive messages that I was receiving again.
Mm,
And I was so terrified. I didn't know, when you're reopening, um, like it's like you're opening Pandora's box, and I don't know, like, is it my imagination? Is this real?
yeah.
And the more, I practiced and worked with people, and I started my practice organically, and I
Mm,
started that in May of 2015. And I just continued to trust that
mm,
these messages that were coming in, and I was like, I had to really trust these messages. And the more I trusted, the more accurate I was getting. And then because I was working so close with a lot of patients at Cedars, because that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, was then I ended up going back to Cedars and volunteering at these circles. And so I started to work with a lot of the patients there one on one at my own studio.
mm,
And I developed a really great relationship with my oncologists and my cancer doctors, and they also were supportive of my journey. So it was like a beautiful kind of like an intertwine of doing Reiki at my cancer center at the hospital, but also because my doctors and I had such a deep trust,
yeah.
some of the doctors that were more holistic there,
Mm,
they allowed my patients or my clients to come back to them and explain to them, what I was seeing in their session. And because I would see stuff and I'd be like, hey, go ask Dr. So and
wow.
so to test you for this, because this is coming up right now. And look, if it's not I'd rather know. But the more and more I was seeing this stuff come up, and
Yeah.
I'd go and have them test it, and they'd always be coming back like, Angela, that's right. Like, I'm literally looking at or I'd be like, can you test this? And they're like, actually, I just got this test and I'm looking at my result. Like, here's my results. I can
Wow.
show you. So that's when I really started to understand, like, this stuff isn't just woo woo. This is not
No.
an imagination. This is truly a divine gift that I feel like was my mission to do something with this to help people heal.
Nice. Yeah.
And at that time, I didn't really know what it was. I just was like, I'm going to just start a Reiki practice and then let it go from there. And I left the fashion industry. I didn't really know
So
what I was going to do, but then, so that's how I became, then add in the carnivore journey. So I became the meat-based medium.
right on. Well, so what? How? Because my partner, my girl, she teaches Reiki and she's been doing Reiki for a long time, and I mean that's only one of the reasons why we get along so well. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely something. Like that's undeniable. And I mean, my sort of awakening, I came to realize like it actually started with a DMT journey 15 years ago, and I wasn't ready to accept it. I wasn't. I did. It told me everything, nothing rests, everything moves, everything's got a frequency, and it was showing me examples. It was very godlike, mothering. I was talking to the divine, and then I kind of just didn't really know how to handle it, so I just let it go. But then I started doing breath work and started sort of opening up to the holistic sides of healing, and I had a DMT experience breathing, and I was like, wait a second here. So that kind of led me down into learning about the subtle bodies and the aura, and practicing Kundalini yoga and feeling it. And I've actually had an out of body experience from a chanting session, and
Yes.
it's led me to trying to like put a lucid dream practice in and trying to leave my body like consciously, which is wild. And I think I'm saying this, people are like, yeah, you're crazy. I was outside of my body looking at my cat on my bed, and my body was chanting a mantra, and we were chanting for like 3.5, 4 hours. And
Yeah.
when I realized what was going on, I got sucked back into my body, and I was there. I was like, that was insane. So I know there is other stuff going on, and I'm now believe that a lot of this, like the auric field and the electromagnetism and all these subtle bodies that we have, are our biology. Actually, our they're, we call them paranormal, but I think they're normal. And so when you're talking about, like, I can't imagine, like, getting, I'm not that tuned in, but it's
Mm.
definitely, I've felt it. And when you're doing your thing and you're doing it, so do you start like with a Reiki, sort of Reiki session, and then things come in for you? Is that how it sort of works?
With a session, yes. So back then I was doing all of my sessions in person. So
Okay.
they'd lay on the table and then I
Hmm.
would channel around them.
Hmm.
But as of 2020, when COVID hit and I could
Yeah.
no longer see clients in person, I became 100% remote.
Okay.
And then from there, so since from 2020 until now, I would say I'm about 98% remote because when I am in Los Angeles, I do see people in person. Or if I'm, out on the road and I tell somebody, oh, hey, this is what I do. And they're like, oh, can I have a session?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll do it in person. But yeah, no, so I do everything now over the phone, which I feel like that's even better in a way
Hmm. Hmm.
because I'm not looking like some people try to, oh, you're just looking, you're reading them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how can I read them when I don't even know what 98% of my clients, I don't even know what they look like because I've
Wow.
never met them.
Yeah.
So I asked for a picture
Yes, a
and
witness.
and that's it. I
Yeah.
asked for a picture of them,
Yeah.
and then I also asked, like, for an address because the
Mm,
energy needs a direction to where
mm,
it's flowing to.
yeah.
But that's all I have, and then we're just talking on the phone. And then I hang like,
That's
we start the session with a couple intentions, hang up, they go into their own meditative state, and then I channel the Reiki while they're in their
wow.
own meditative state. So we're not even on the phone. We hang
Mm,
up for an hour and then I call them back. And then we share experiences and then I share with them what I felt, what I cleared, and what
yeah.
I picked up on.
Wow.
So there's no way for me to even look at somebody and be like, yeah, I'm reading their face. No.
Yeah. Well, and
um,
for anybody that thinks this is absolutely batshit and that they can't handle that, I've seen it because I took a radiesthesia course to learn how to use a pendulum, and
yes.
that is exactly the same thing. You get a witness, if it's an imprint, a signature, a picture, something with energetic connection, and then you can tune in with a pendulum, and it's the same. And then I was working as an acupuncturist for a while in a clinic, and
Oh,
I
awesome.
I didn't really enjoy the clinics, so I can't. We figured out that we could actually do acupuncture remotely, which is really weird because I did
Yeah.
laser acupuncture on the ear, and we just get these models of thing, and we do things over the phone to the people that, and it's quite wild when you can tune in with a pendulum and then do this. So that to me is not, it's not strange. It's actually an energetic connection, and if you want to talk about the quantum entanglement
I was
factor,
just gonna say quantum physics, guys.
yeah, they're proving any a particle that's connected can be across the universe and still resonate. So that's, I mean, hey, the science is coming around, so to speak. But so that's pretty crazy. So you actually, talking about the pandemic, that probably was, did you how did you figure out that you could do it, like, online? Did you just say, I think this is possible, or did you have a feeling it would work?
So in level two, so when you have Reiki levels, and level two, you learn distant Reiki. So you learn there's a certain symbol that you use. And so I had a couple of long distant clients already. They weren't my main clients, but I had maybe like three or four
Hmm.
that I had that lived in other parts of the country. So I was very aware that we could do that. But then in 2019 was when my health failed.
Yeah.
And that's when I was living in mold, and
Mm.
I didn't know that I had, again, and I had that surgery, and we talked about that in the other podcast, but I had a surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, and I didn't know that I was living in mold, didn't know that I had that undiagnosed Lyme and the other co-infections and SIRS. And so in 2020, I was almost on my deathbed, and
Oh,
I also was in a really like in a relationship that wasn't going very well.
no.
So I needed some peace. And so that was kind of my way of having peace was giving Reiki. And so I started to have a on the full moon and new moon for during the pandemic, I started just going on Instagram and saying, "Hey everyone, I'm going to do some distant Reiki from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, Western time, 6 to or 5 to 6, whatever, just to, if you want to be a part of this distant session, feel free to DM me your first and last name
Yeah.
and I will add you to the list." Well, the first time I did that, I had like 3 people.
Mhm.
The second time I did that, I had 6 people. The third time I
Mhm.
had that, I had 26 people. And then the fourth time I did it, I had to have 2 separate sessions because I
Oh,
had
wow.
almost 100 people. So,
That's awesome. Well, that's
and
great that people are like, that's
people
awesome.
were so support, like, because people were going through a really rough time. So I was
Yeah.
like over here offering free healing and I had nothing. All they had to do was just lay down, receive, and give me their name. And I said, all I would like in return is just like share your experience with me, DM me, send me a note letting me know how you felt it, how you experienced it.
Yeah.
And the amount of messages that I got that throughout that time, because I just kept going with it. And then people were asking, "Oh, well, do you do this from like, do you do one-on-one sessions like this?" And it's like, "Yeah, I do." And it just slowly built itself like that. My practice completely
Awesome.
built itself from just doing those free remote healings. And I thought about going back and doing them again, but I'm like, but I don't know how attuned and in tune people are these days. So, but yeah, that was such a beautiful gift that I could offer. And then to also receive in return how many people from across the world that were reaching out to me. I had people from India, people
Wow.
like, from China, from Europe, like all over. And then that's how they became my clients. And so I started, like,
Amazing.
basically just started working with people all over the world. I didn't even know I could do that. And
Yeah.
I went from just working locally with only people in Los Angeles with a few people around the country to overnight basically just became like working with everybody that found me through Instagram.
Aw.
And it was beautiful because I was like, wow, I didn't know that I could actually reach this many people to
That
support them. Like,
that
thank you,
restores the faith.
pandemic.
Yeah, that restores the faith
Yeah.
in social media, man. Like, I just it's hard to teeter that line. Like there's so much I've learned so much on social media. I'm not gonna like I mean, I'm a YouTube educated guy. Like I when I realized that you could like take college lectures and all these master classes on it, I was like, okay, I'm a sponge. But then there's the other side of it, which is just the doom scrolling and the nonsense that
Yep.
I guess there's good and bad. But I love it when you hear like a story like that where it's like, yeah, awesome, and being able to affect people's lives at such a crazy time. Like the pandemic
Such
was
crazy time.
insane.
It was, and I was going through a really rough time too with my health and
Mm,
my relationship and the situation that I was in that I couldn't get out of. So it provided me peace knowing that I could be of
yeah.
service for someone else.
Mm,
And so, because when you, as with everything else, when you give Reiki, you receive it first and then it pours out of you. But it's just like everything else. I mean, when you give love, you receive love.
yeah.
And it's a beautiful frequency to be tuned into, especially you're when we're all struggling, we're all locked down. So it allowed me to connect with people and hear their stories and hear what they were going through, and
Yeah.
it was beautiful. And from there it's been, I've had my practice now for 11 years, and I I thank God every day because it's my passion, it's my calling, and I'm very grateful that I can support people not only in the physical but in the spiritual as well. And just by going
Yeah.
through all my illnesses with mold and Lyme and overcoming those challenges, it enabled me to expand my practice to be even further into not just the medium and spirituality world, but also in the health, like the holistic health coaching world too. So I bridged both of the worlds together.
That's
So I'm
all.
not just supporting you spiritually, but I'm also supporting you nutritionally,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, and physically as well. It's the 2
Because
have to go hand in
I
hand.
find, I don't know about you, but I find that in the spiritual community, especially, like just being, I mean, I've had my health turnaround. I mean, there was this point where I was like, okay, you're getting old. As any older, you're not going to be able to do this. I couldn't run up the stairs. I was in pain. Couldn't lift my arms over my shoulders. This was my, you better wake the fuck up right now. I tried the gym, didn't work. Fixed my diet, started getting better. All this stuff. Now, what I've seen in the spiritual community is so many people are trying to get enlightened. They're
Mhm.
trying to be up in the crown and the third eye, but they're not getting connected. They're not rooted. They're not in the lower chakras. Their
That's
bodies
right.
are failing them. And it's like, yeah, you can do all the spiritual, all the energy work, all the stuff in the world, but there is certain, you want to call them principles that in my opinion, that we can't overlook. And I think because of, like, from your story, from what you've gone through physically, like with the SIRS and the mast cell activation, I think these are all insults added by the modern life, by our environment.
Mhm.
And so many spiritual people they forget that. I don't know if they forget, but it seems like they're not connected to the earth. They're not connected in the lower chakras. They're just trying to get
Right.
also enlightened.
That's
And
right.
it's beautiful that you can, that your practice establishes both sides, where it's everything. And that's the alignment factor, I think. That word has been
Absolutely.
that word has been hitting me, like, over the last few months. Just, I was reading, because I go through different scriptures, and right now I'm reading the book of Enoch. And I was like, I actually asked ChatGPT. I was like, okay, let's see what ChatGPT says about this book. But he, basically, the ChatGPT explained a few metaphors. This was the first time it came up, and it's like, when they're talking about righteousness, what is it ultimately? Is alignment. And that just set me off. I was like, wow, alignment with nature. And then I went on
Yeah,
my own tirade. And but it was that word is so important.
it really is. It really is. It means it's probably, I think, one of the most important words that we can use when it comes to connecting with our truth and doing what we are meant to be doing and healing. And it's just, and you said it beautifully. The problem with a lot of people that are trying to heal, they're focusing on the wrong parts first.
Mm,
You have to get grounded. You cannot, I don't care. I teach, aside from all this, the stuff that I do with, I teach, also teach Reiki. I
mm,
also teach intuition. I also teach mediumship. And I also help people connect to their angels and their guides. And I cannot, no one can do that
mm,
until until they've really worked on their root chakra.
mm,
That root chakra, that groundedness, because if you're not grounded and you're not rooted into your being, your soul's just going to disconnect from your body and it's going to fly away, and you're not going to receive the messages that you're wanting to receive with clarity.
mm,
And that's the thing, because everybody comes to me, that's what they say, well, how do I know it's a message and it's not like my imagination? Or how do I know how to discern between a voice that's telling me to do something because it's my ego, and
Mm,
it's my guides. And I always ask, well, are you grounded? Did you ground today?
yeah.
And I like can feel them. I'm like, you're not in your body. You're in your
Mm,
head. You're not
mm.
even in your heart. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like, like we got to get to the heart space, and
yeah.
you're in your head and you're not in your
Mm,
crown. Like, and I have to say that when you think of groundedness, I'm not just talking about going outside and walking barefoot and hugging a tree. I mean, those are all very important, but it also goes to the nutrition that you're eating,
mm,
and eating grounding foods like protein, animal protein.
yeah. Well, that's
That's
something.
going to really, that really is very supportive.
So what do you say about the people that say that, they'll say eating meat is bad. You bring on the energy of the animal, or or they'll say, like plants are living. So, we should be eating alive foods, which in my mind, like I was just talking to somebody earlier today, Selena. I don't know if you know Selena
Oh
from the
yeah.
Carnivore Community. We had a little chat this morning, and we're talking to, like, you're ripping roots out of the ground. I mean, if we're talking about consciousness and everything being part of the one, we're trying to say that the plants don't have any of that, and I don't know. I don't agree with that. And I think when you rip a root out of the ground, it's not alive anymore. It's probably, it's not happy, And so, what do you say to the people, like, coming from, like, you sound very well rounded as far as your open mindedness, and what do people push push at you at that?
Oh yeah, well, I think I was doing some research about plants recently because I get this kickback a lot. Like, how can you eat all these animal products and still be so connected to source and be spiritual? Because based on what everything that you said, like you're eating a soul.
Mm.
And I first of all, I said plants, I think they've discovered that plants are sentient
Oh,
beings.
absolutely, yes.
So what makes the difference between, like, they're still a living organism. You're still killing them. And then if we really want to go take it a step further, there's a lot more animals that are dying in a vegan diet with all the pesticides and monocropping and glyphosate and all the things, cropping, farming. How many little rodents are dying because they're eating these pesticides that are going into their water.
Yeah.
So let's not even go into that. Um, so, and then I also say, well, in order for something to live, it's a circle of life. In order for something to live, something has to die.
Yeah.
And that animal, whether I ate it or not, is going to die.
Mm.
How I honor that animal
Yes.
is very sacred to me.
Yeah.
And I honor that animal. I mean, I do eat nose to tail. So that's
Mhm.
one way I honor the animal. But also, before I even eat, I thank that animal. I
I
even
say
give,
a prayer every time.
yeah,
Every time.
I
Yeah.
give Reiki to my food, and
Yeah.
I give it an intention of what I want my food to
Oh,
do
yeah.
for me. And I think every every ounce of
Mm.
energy that has gone into that food, because a lot of people just think, oh well, it's just the farmer and the land, and it's more than that. It's the farmer, the land, the butcher,
Yeah.
the packer, the person that transported it from the warehouse or the slaughterhouse
Yeah.
to the grocery store, and then the grocer put it on the shelf if you're eating grocery store meat, or or if you are not doing that and you're just doing like a
Yeah.
farm to table, it's a different thing. But I get a lot of my meat shipped from me from Billy Doe Meats.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even though there's a very minimal process, there's still like a lot of people that handle the box
Yeah.
before it gets to my plate. And I think about, when you think about energy and how it works, every time our hands carry so much energy.
Totally.
We hug with our hands. When we hug somebody, hug, we hold hands. It's a way of giving and receiving love. If something hurts, if our stomach hurts, what do? We're like, oh, my
Yeah.
stomach hurts, or my back hurts. We use our hands. So we have to think about how many people touch our food before it gets to our plate and the transference of all that energy. So I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent here
Oh,
because
it's
I
good.
don't,
Great.
but
This is the stuff that people don't
mm,
really think about, which I love because I feel the same. Like it's just, a lot of like we get stigmatized. We just get like, oh my, you eat meat, you are a dick, basically. Like
yeah,
that's the kind. It's like, you know what? If I had it my way, I would be living by a river or an ocean. I would grow plants in
yeah,
beautiful, loved soil, and if I wanted to eat them, I would. If I didn't, that's okay. I would grow things, and I would be connected to the earth, out in the sunshine. And if I had animals, I would be eating as minimal as I could, taking care of them, being around them. You know what I mean? Like this is not about
yes,
just what am I have a herd of cattle and then just slaughter them all at the same time for my consumption. No, that's not what I do,
that's
obviously.
right.
But
And that's right.
and that would be one maybe one animal a year, arguably. I mean, a few, maybe, maybe chickens if
Yeah.
you have them. But I mean, it's and here's something I didn't really know this until I actually volunteer at my friend's wolf. I go help her at her farm. She has 20 acres outside where the city where I live. And I get out there in the summertime just to go out and get out in the sun and she has chickens. I didn't realize chickens laid eggs without roosters.
Oh, yeah. It's not until the roosters come over and fertilize them.
But so theoretically, that kind of makes sense now with vegetarians eating eggs because like they weren't ever going to be born. Then I was like,
Right.
oh, interesting. So these things are just wasted. Like that's
Yeah,
giving the chickens false hope. They're just sitting on them, going, maybe one day they'll hatch. Like I don't know how it works, but I didn't know that, and I learned that last summer, and I was like, wow, okay. So if everybody hates me, I'll just live on eggs because they wouldn't be like, But everything that life is going to be is an egg, and I think there's something there too. But anyway,
I
my point was,
agree.
before I went on a tangent, is I would be a minimalist as best I could, a naturalist is best I could. And I think we're all thrown into this modern life, into this modern system, into wherever you are in your city. It's not your fault. Like we got to survive, and you have to do your best. And I think being, like you were mentioning, being aware of the whole process is very honorable, and I like it. I love it. So
I do too. I mean, I if I could have it my way, I would eat my meat sitting on the grass with,
yes, with
with
my
the
hands
sun, with
in the
my
sun.
hands
Yeah,
in the
no doubt.
sunlight.
Yeah.
Just it's all connecting. And the vitality that have felt since becoming carnivore
Mm,
and the life that it has given me and the ability to like I have so much more ability to work with my clients right now. I
mhm,
have a pretty full practice, and when I was plant-based, because I was plant-based when I was getting into Reiki, and because that was the way, and then add in that I had cancer, and that was what the doctors told me to do is eat plant-based. So I already had my experience eating plant-based, thinking that was the right way, but I was so tired every day after work. I was drained. I was
mm,
drained. I didn't feel grounded. I felt like I really had to go outside and just hug trees and sage myself and all the things which that's great spiritual hygiene. You should be doing that anyways if you're doing energy work. But I mean, I would be wiped out.
mm.
And since I've become carnivore, I have so much more stamina and energy to be able to work with my clients. And I'm so grateful because I work with a lot of sick people, like
No kidding.
the sickest of people, that that have gone through are going through what I have gone through. So I work with the people now that have SIRS and Lyme, and they're not getting any answers from doctors. And if I couldn't if I didn't have this ability to eat the way I do and perform the way I do, there would be no way I would be able to hold space for my
Yeah.
clients.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was practicing at the acupuncture clinic, and I would be the same thing. Like we're dealing with a lot of mental stuff, like a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of like just addiction, a lot of addiction. And it took me, I was there for, about a couple of years, but about 6 months in, and I've changed my diet by this time. It was my first time being in an office environment in, God, I don't know, 25 years. And I realized that I was zapping energy, like I was sucking in energy, and it was really, really, I felt flat and I couldn't figure out for a while. I was like, holy crap, man, I'm doing something wrong with my diet. I was like, no, man, this is energy. And I started clearing, started doing
Mhm.
some, like Palo Santo, and I started
Yeah.
doing some clearing practice every day, just after just releasing it all. And oh, look what happens. I started feeling better. And that was like, it's pretty powerful. So I can only imagine when you're taking on a lot of, well, doing any kind of energy work, there is definitely stamina. And it's not a coincidence that all the people that we talk about that have the physical, like the humanizing revitalization, but it seems that it works too in the energy, in the spiritual side. So because
Absolutely.
that's kind of where I was getting at, because a lot of people also, they say that we can't open up spiritually if we're eating meat. There's always
Yeah.
that one.
Yep. Yeah.
And to me, that once you throw it on the table and start looking at all the facts, that doesn't make sense at all.
Well, it doesn't, especially like when I was 5 years old, I wasn't eating meat. Like, I mean, I was eating meat. I was eating everything though, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I never really understood a lot of that because of when you see, and I work with a lot of children too that are very gifted and
Mm,
very intuitive. And while I think your diet is important if you're going to actively pursue the like a career in it, making sure that your diet is the foundation of not only your health but your ability to work. And
yeah.
um but when you're developing intuition, and if you are naturally gifted, I'm not talking about the people that are coming to me saying I really want to learn how to do this and I want to, like, that's different. But I see people that are kids that are so dialed in, including myself. I
Mm,
wasn't eating the most perfect diet to it was like that was just a sixth that was my sixth sense or seventh sense. It was my that So when I hear people are like, oh well, if you eat meat you're not going to be able to connect, you're not going to be able to channel, I'm like, don't say that, because I can sit here and eat ice cream. If I'm not that I can't even eat ice cream, but you know what I mean. I can sit
yeah.
here and eat something, and that's not going to take my body, my ability
No.
away from being able to channel
Yeah.
someone,
Yeah.
or feeling someone, or getting an intuitive hit. I
Mhm.
mean, it might make it more clear because when I'm working, I need clarity, but it's not gonna change. To me, it's not gonna change it. If anything, it gives me more of a groundedness so that I can hold more information, I
For
would
sure,
say.
and probably a lot more resilience in your nervous system. You know what I mean? Because that's a
Yes.
big part to play. Like I'm sure a lot of stuff. Like I think that's probably one of the most underrated things in any health. Anything is burnout, your nervous system burning out, and
Yep.
your body's ability to handle. Like I mean, I teach breath work. It's undeniable when you practice breathing for
I love breath work.
about a month or two and you've done it consistently, it affects you like physically, physiologically, and you just feel that nervous system is so much better control. And I think that's probably something that our diets do as well, as they give your body the ability to just not panic, because you could
Yes.
argue a lot of these autoimmune conditions and a lot of the disease are that, like, our immune systems are panicking, our cardiovascular system is panicking. And I think that's something, like we were touching back onto what we were talking about before, that connection to your body, you know
Yes. Yes. And I love that you brought this up, because in 2012 I was going through severe panic attacks,
Mm,
and I didn't understand what was happening. I'm like, why am I going through panic attack? And I thought they were heart attacks. I mean, I was getting hospitalized for them. And then when I really started to work with my healer and I started to understand energy and frequency, I realized that she was also right. I wasn't using my gifts, I was suppressing them. So when you are intuitive and very connected energetically,
Mhm.
you're empathic. You're absorbing so much of other people's energy, but you're also receiving a lot of information and downloads. And because you're not grounded, you're not aware of what's happening, the panic attacks start
Yeah,
happening because our energy connects our nervous system. Our nervous system operates our heartbeat.
yeah.
So when that is going, when our nervous system is out of alignment, our favorite word, due to external energies that we are not aware of
Hmm.
because we're not connected, we're not paying attention, we've not dialed into that yet. And it's like I see that now so much in my practice. And I ask people when I see them and I'm like, they're struggling with anxiety and panic. It's like I will go into the mast cell and the histamine and everything, but the first thing I want to ask, I'm like, do you realize that maybe this could be more of an intuitive gift that's developing?
So yes, because how
Yeah,
often, how, in your opinion, how much do you think people are falsely medicated for something like
that's
this?
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then they're on this medication that's just numbing it out
Mm.
and it's push suppressing it, and suppressing it. But this psychic energy does not want to be suppressed and it'll make its way to another part of your body and it'll start wrecking havoc on that. So it
Mm.
can be your thyroid, it can be your endocrine system, it can be your hormones, it
Yeah.
can be migraines because you're suppressing that energy. And all it is it's energy that needs to be felt, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be absorbed and observed.
Hmm.
And nobody wants to look at the woo woo stuff
Yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. But I always say, well, if this doesn't make sense, then why do we have a heart that beats and we're not even plugged in?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if if our nervous system is what's creating our heartbeat and our digestive system and our circadian rhythms and our thoughts, it's then and we are affected by when I mean think about this too, like when you are standing next to somebody who's in a good mood, you can feel it. But you can
Absolutely.
also
Yeah.
feel it if you're standing next to somebody who's in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody that works in a toxic environment or that you are living in a toxic environment, you're in a toxic relationship or you have a wife or a husband who's draining the life out of you and is narcissistic, your body is going to feel that.
Yes.
And so that's when the nervous system then starts becoming dysregulated. So if you believe in that, that's your body speaking to you, letting you know, hey, I feel this way. Can you please make a change?
Hmm.
And if you don't do that, it's going to just continue to ramp up and you're going to just keep suppressing that. And they just, nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that stuff. And it's just causing more inflammation in the body. And so, getting back to the intuitive, being intuitive and receiving and experiencing that development, it's a gift. And so many people don't want to really pay attention to this beautiful layer of, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing that you can experience this and experience the healing of it if you allow it to. And I tell you what, when I stopped avoiding the anxiety, and I just went to and I was working with my Reiki master and I was doing this Reiki and I was developing my mediumship and really owning myself as an intuitive medium, my panic attacks went away because I knew the energy. I could then, when I was feeling something weird, I could check in with myself and say, is this internal or is this external? Is there
Yeah.
something around me? Is it a message? And then
Well,
you
that's,
go from
you know,
there.
that's becoming the observer. Like it's so funny how a lot of these, I don't, we'll call them modalities, but sort of just different avenues, if you will, of health or your life or even energy, this is what it is. Like there's there's so much potential and there's so much crossover. When people say observe your thinking, okay,
Mm,
what is that? Well, you take something, it's not that you're not feeling it or are feeling it, it's the fact that you can take yourself out of yourself and watch yourself feel it, which sounds really crazy, but
not to me.
it starts to get easier as you
Yeah.
practice. It's like, where did that, and then like what you were saying about people not being sure of where these voices are coming from. Take a word, take a couple words and see, was that me? Was that my mind? Was that my feeling?
Mm,
Was that my past? Was that my history? You just start, you know, it's like, I guess, with our diets. Like at first when I was gonna go low carb, I was like, oh my, this is scary. This is gonna be crazy. Go low carb. You feel good. And then it's like, okay, this is getting easier because the feeling's pretty good. Right. And then when I kind of went full carnivore, I was gonna do it for 30 days. And I was like, what is going on? This
mm.
body is feeling good. So it's sort of all connected. And it's really, I think it's something that we don't talk about enough. And because what you mentioned, like we've been mentioning, is the woo side. And we put these things into woo where it should be just is,
It is. It's
you know?
life. It's because we are all intuitive. We're all gifted. We all have that sense. I mean, that's a whole other conversation about how we were created.
Mm,
And there's, some people may be more dialed in than others, but at the end of the day, I've never met anybody who's not have some sort of intuitive gift.
yeah,
It's just some of them need that to be more fine-tuned. And in reality, it's not even about the fine-tunement, it's about learning to trust yourself, learning to
yeah,
trust what you have and not suppressing it.
yeah.
Because so many people suppress this stuff because they're afraid of being weird or judged or
Mm.
especially like, I mean, I grew up Catholic, and you pull the religion card and people want to
Uh-oh,
categorize you in something completely different than what you are. And so there's that as well. And it's been a little challenging for me sometimes to own who I am in a lot of the mainstream areas
for sure.
out of fear of like, oh gosh, is someone gonna judge me because of what I do? And I've seen the comments, where
Yeah,
people are
I
like,
can only I
oh,
can I can only imagine what, some, I don't want to sound mean and judgy here, but we'll just call them normies. The normies see your handle and meat-based medium, and they probably, if they're coming from a die-hard religious background, that sounds like, what you're demonic worshiping. It's like, it's so
yeah,
crazy how we got there. And I used to be, I don't want to say I was always pretty open-minded, but not definitely programmed, definitely. And when we're talking about intuition, that's the other thing. I think they are systematically messing with us to take away that intuition. So you could argue that food noise, or that I need junk food or sugar right now, was artificially given to you. It's manipulated intuition, so they're creating that out of body intuition. And that's what, I try and tell people, explain to people about how I eat. I don't count anything, I don't time anything. I just eat. When I eat till I'm happy and full. I've had enough. Sometimes it's not a lot. Sometimes it's way less than usual. Sometimes it's way more than I just let it. But it took me a while to get to that place. I'm not gonna lie. I don't suggest people just, one day
yeah,
start eating all meat all the time, lots of butter, and eat 15 pounds. I don't, I think there's always some nuance there, but the intuition is the thing. I think that they're. What do you feel about that? Do you think they, whoever they are, do you think
yeah.
they're taking away our ability to think and intuit?
I mean, oh gosh, I love this topic. I do. And I feel that that's why they're putting so much poison in our foods.
Yeah.
because they're trying to disconnect us. They're trying to disconnect us from who God intended us to be. I mean, God created animals, God created created land, God created the earth,
Yeah.
but we are supposed to eat food that was created in a lab by man? I don't think so. I
No.
mean, if I look at it from a frequency standpoint, that's why we're all sick, right? Because this food lowers our frequency.
Yeah. And if you look at it, if you like, because it's I love getting into this because like, okay, we're gonna take the biblical times, whether they existed or didn't, doesn't matter. Way back. The bread they were talking about in there in the Bible, in the biblical times, is nothing like it would be today. That's number one.
Right.
But when you're talking about the energetic and the manipulation, they own the seed, they own the fertilizer, they own
Right.
the delivery system, they own the harvesting system. When they spraying, like, people think glyphosate is just a weed kill, they spray it to desiccate the crops, to dry faster. So
Mm.
when you get that level of manipulation in every single thing that's been into that energetic thing, that spoon of cereal that you're putting in your mouth, it doesn't make sense from all sides. Like, there's no, like what you're talking about, absolute energetic manipulation, if anything.
Right.
And it's horrifying because we can go into just just trying to go outside, get in the sun, and breathe the air. I mean, where are you? You're in LA.
Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
How are the skies in Los Angeles, Angela? How are the skies?
Well, they're clear today, but not all the time. I mean, we had those fires a
Mm,
year ago, back in the Palisades
yeah.
fires and then not only Palisades, we had 'em, I mean, they were all over California, and I'm not convinced that we are all getting poisoned, that we're not getting poisoned here. I feel like all of that stuff that got burned is still in the air. So that's
Okay.
one thing that
Mm,
I'm really conscious about. I don't love going outside. I mean, I do, but
yeah.
it's scary to think about all the toxins. If you think about like all the cars that burned, the batteries, the paint, the just all this plastics that went up into flames. I'm like, yeah, that cannot have just cleared. I think about
No.
9/11 and all these people that were in New York City that are now developing all these lung issues,
I know.
10, 15 years later because they were there. So I think about all of us that are affected from those fires just from this toxic soup that we're living in. And then you have the chemtrails. We have so many of the
They don't
chemtrails.
exist, Angela. They're not there.
Right. And then I think about the smog. I mean, we've got so much smog in LA too.
Mm,
I mean, it's not the best environment for people with SIRS to live in, I will
no kidding.
say. But I also it's also hard to leave it when you've been here for 23 years.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, people just say, "Well, if you don't like it, leave." It's, come on. We're trying here. We're all in
Right.
these situations that, like, I'm obviously, now knowing what I know, I would have chosen a better place, but I'm in the same, like, sort of, I think about these things all the time. Like, I don't trust the fog anymore. Like, when it's a foggy
Oh,
day
I
and I'm
don't
like,
either.
I when I grew up, there was fog. We're in a pretty temperate climate. There's a lot of heat and cold in Vancouver, so we got rain and fog. The fog is different now, and I'm
It
like, I look
is.
at this and I go, am I nuts? I'm looking. It's different color. It feels different. It sits differently, and that's just that can't be good.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I think about the marine layer here in LA all the time, and I always question it now, like what's in that?
How's your water? What do you do about water? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I don't even use so I just get all my bottled water from Mountain Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I get my water from. I don't want to even, I mean, I use it to brush my teeth, and I have a you know, and take a shower, but I am very I need to get a water filter. I
Yeah.
do know that I need to get a water filter for my shower. That's
Mm.
probably one of the most important things that I think I need to do, but I keep putting it off because I'm never really home that much as I travel so much. So it's not something that I consciously think about,
So
but
do you
I
drink tap water ever?
no,
Yeah.
not here. I mean, if I'm somewhere else, you know, sure.
Maybe.
But not here, not here.
Well, up until about 2 years ago, I mean, I would have thought that where I live anyway, up in the Pacific Northwest, Vancouver, we would have
Mm,
had arguably one of the most pristine water sources on the planet.
yeah.
Now, I don't know. I'm very like I can smell the chlorine now. Like and it's because I haven't drank it for so long. Now when I'm like when my nose is around it, it's unbelievable. We distill ours. We distill, add minerals, and then I'll drink San Pellegrino in a glass bottle. That's it. But I don't know. I think water is another thing that people should they need to be aware of because the time for oh that's bullshit is over.
Yes. Well, there's not even and then the bottles, the types of bottles, right? I can't help it to get plastic bottles, you know, once in a while because that's just what I have access to. And I mean, I was in, for example, I mean, I was in Mexico for 2 weeks, you know, last month, and they don't, I did not find any glass bottled water. If I did, I would have been able to buy it, but that's just what I had to work with. And I wasn't gonna, you know, use or drink the water from the tap. So, you know, I try to do it's like we all are trying to do the best that we can, but you look at these plastics, you know, that are filled with estrogen, and then you wonder why all of these women are suffering with estrogen dominance and hormonal issues, and it's
We're not
just
going to mention the guys
and
that are suffering with
yeah,
low
for low
testosterone.
testosterone, yeah, low testosterone and infertility on both
Yeah,
ends
I
from
know.
these plastics that we're consuming. I mean, I've watched a couple of documentaries about this from men and women who were testing their hormones, and they linked it back to all the chemicals that are in these plastic bottles, and not just the plastic bottles, but like our cooking ware and
Well,
our
people don't understand that when you're drinking a can of whatever, that's plastic lined. When you're drinking a paper cup, that's plastic lined too, and especially
yeah,
coffee in in a paper cup, that's hot coffee with plastic, and that's like you're getting a plastic bomb. So
yes.
what when you're helping people figure this stuff out, are you obviously do you start with how do you start telling them about these things that could be possibly you know either blocking them or
Mm.
harming them in a sense.
Um, well, always will have a conversation depending on the, you know, the severity of the illness that I'm working with is
Mm,
I always have a conversation about, well, let's talk about the toxicities that are in your home.
mhm.
That's always important. And I do my best. I'm like, look, I'm not here to tell you to
Yeah,
like change everything because I know that can be very overwhelming. But let's make some small changes, and you know, like we'll have a conversation about where we need to start first. I don't typically like to, you know, word vomit all this stuff because then
yeah,
it's like, oh well, how am I supposed to do all that? You know,
yeah.
so we first it's like we go by room. Let's look at your kitchen first. You
Okay.
know, what's in your kitchen?
Mhm.
What's in your bedroom? You know, what's in your cabinets? What type of sheets are you sleeping on? And what kind of laundry detergent are you using? What kind of soap are you using?
Yeah,
Like little things. What kind of if you're, you know, when they go into if they're carnivore, because some of them are severely histamine intolerant. So I look at their meat, like are you eating non-aged meats? You
yeah.
know, are you maybe you shouldn't be eating beef, maybe we need to be eating
Oh
lamb and
yeah,
goat.
yeah,
Um, but a lot of times when you know, so aside from that, then there's also the other stuff that they're consuming that they don't even realize that's harming them. And so when I'm working on them in a session and I'm channeling for them, whether they're on the phone or in
yeah.
person, I work while I'm working with them, I see what's going on, like what's the priority of what we need to
Oh,
address
cool.
first. So I
Wow.
can
Okay.
tell as I'm working on them, I'm like,
You need to
do
stop
we need
using
to,
deodorant.
right. I'm like, okay, well, let's see. It's this, it's that. Like, so I kind of go with what I'm seeing, and then we kind of address that, like, look, we need to look at your towels that you're using, or your sheets that you're
Okay.
sleeping on, or the
Yeah,
clothes that you're wearing, or because fabrics also hold energy,
totally.
and people don't realize that. And if you are trying to transform and ascend, and you're like, you're becoming a different version of yourself, you've got to release that energy from the clothing. And it's not just by saging them. So I have a whole thing about, like, I have you, well, like, wash your clothes in salt water,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, put it in the sunlight to charge, set an intention of what you want that to do for you. How do you want that to support you? What are we clearing? What
Mm,
version of you are we clearing from the clothing? Because clothing holds the imprint of energy. So, and when
wow.
we sleep, we clear our energy. Our
Mm,
lymphatic system is another powerful system of detoxification.
yeah.
So, and our energy pathways are just as important
Yeah.
as, our sweat pathways, our digestive pathways, our, you know, urine pathways.
Yeah. It's funny.
So,
It's funny you say lymphatics. It's like that. It's just knowing that your lymphatic system is carrying around stuff, delivering information to your body. It needs to be moving. It cannot be stagnant. So that should be
right.
just a sign, right? I'm not
Yes.
saying you have to bust your ass in the gym 14 days a week. I'm talking about just movement. We need to move. And then
Yeah.
we sleep and it all kind of calms down.
Yes, because our body needs that. And then we have our glymphatic system, which is the
Yes.
fluid in our brain. And if our lymphatic system is sluggish, then our glymph can't drain.
Yeah.
And I always know when my, because, again, having these methylation issues and SIRS and mold, my lymphatic system is my weakest point of my body. And I can tell
Okay.
when I'm not draining, my glands get so swollen and
Wow.
tender.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, I feel that they're tender, so that means I need to go move. And
Have you ever heard of sleeping with your head to the north so that all the metals are sorry, sleeping with your head to the south so that all the metals, because they get pulled to the north, so the glymphatic system drains?
no, I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
I started doing it, and I can't tell you that I feel the ultimate because I'm now at the point where I don't want to go back. Like I
Yeah.
always make sure that my head's south because the
Yes.
magnetic north is gonna pull the metals out of your that like is a complete that might be woo. I don't know, but I've heard that and I was like, hey, I'm gonna try that. And I always sleep with my head to the south. So
That's wild to me. I've never heard of that,
yeah.
but I'm going to see where south is in my room. Maybe I'm already
Yeah.
sleeping south. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be a dream?
And I think like you got southeast. So as long as you're more southeast, so that it's the north is actually pulling the metals. And I mean, this is I have no scientific any kind of backing to that. I just heard it one time and I was like, hey, magnetic north. That kind of makes sense. So I've been doing
That's
that.
interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I will look into that. That's amazing.
And I don't know about you because like when you're talking about if you're actually channeling stuff, are people scared to ask you questions? Because I'm always like with my friends, I'm the bearer of bad news. They ask me about something. They'll ask me about like a product or an
Oh,
ingredient, and they'll be like, "Okay, I gotta ask you, what do you think about this?" No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Because I'm like, well,
oh,
I've got some.
I'm I'm always an open book.
Yeah,
I love asking. I love when people ask me questions. I love when skeptics come to me too. That's my favorite, when I get people that are like, "Oh, I heard of you, or I found you, and I really don't believe any of this, but I want to try it." And I'm like, "Great.
perfect.
Great. You're my favorite."
Yeah,
I'm I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm just channeling, so it's up to you and how you receive it.
right on. Well, that's good, and I'm sure it's funny, but I'm sure people that say that don't even realize that they're actually open to it. They say that
That's
they're
right.
closed minded, but you're here, and that's
Right.
that's the awareness trick. Like I don't know what awareness is. Just being aware of the fact you don't know what awareness is awareness. So
Yes, yes, and it's funny because I got people, and it's funny, it's always men. I get more men that are more skeptical than women. At least, women are more, they're more connected. They're because women are very intuitive and um v- like more receptive, I guess you could
yeah,
say.
well,
Whereas
it's that
as
mother energy. It's
men,
the
yes,
divine feminine is a lot more, I guess, receiving. Men seem to be a
yes,
little bit more like, yeah. I have to teach, like, the people that I practice breath work with that are guys. I have to give them sort of the yeah, it's good for your testosterone. It's gonna make you be.
yeah.
Women are much more receiving to the energetic side of it, like the deeper meanings of it. Guys want to. I want to hold. Can I hold my breath for 4 minutes? Yeah, you're in. Let's go. It's pretty funny. Women don't care. They don't care about that. They care about the experience. Men care about the the effect, if that makes any
Right.
sense.
Right. Yes, and that's exactly it, like, when I work with women, they wanna be held, they wanna be it's like, their time. When it's men, they're like, "What's gonna happen?" Like, they're so ready for the experience of it, they're on more on guard about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's funny because I'm with a hypnotist and she hypnotized me last night just for because I had a little bit of pain in my jaw, and I think I got something's happening, and it was sore. But she hypnotized me. I love it. Like, I can get hypnotized. Like, I get still and I'm gone.
Wow.
It's wild. It's so much fun. But people hear that and they go like, how could you just get him? Isn't she gonna put things in your head? It's like, no, she's not gonna put. Well, she could, but it's not. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be all of a sudden walking around doing this. It's but I love that because my guy friends, they think I'm nuts because of my spiritual awakening and being open to nothing. Angela, I'm telling you, nothing is off the table anymore. I don't. When
Yes.
something sounds so crazy, I'm I'll listen to it because it seems everything that I was ever everything I ever thought or taught growing up was absolutely, I was misled in some way, shape, or form. And
We all
your
were.
your um your bridge, like, I just see a big heart with you because that's like
Aw, thank
it's the
you.
center, right? Like, and it's so cool to have that the whole system, because a lot of people, like, look at what they did with our medical system. Like, I don't know how you feel about specialists, but it seems to be that there's no more doctors, doctores, teachers. They're all specialists. So how many specialists did you have?
Um, oh gosh, like over 100 probably at this point. I mean, from everything that I've been through, and I think that's what made me become who I am is because I can't tell you how many doctors looked at me either telling me that I was gonna die in a couple months or that I was never gonna be able to walk again, that, I had a high risk of the cancer coming back, and or that my mast cells were just gonna be something that I was gonna have to live with. All of the things negative. They're just nothing
Yeah,
but fear mongering.
yeah.
And I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, if I believe this shit, I'm gonna die. Like, I mean, if I would have listened to my doctors, I'd be sitting in a wheelchair, I'd be living on a feeding tube. I probably would be dead, to be honest.
Mm,
I mean, if I'm really being real. But, I would have lived on a feeding tube until I just collapsed.
yeah.
Um, I would have never just trusted myself to just try just only eating meat because
Mm,
that's how I found carnivore. It was the only thing I wasn't really reacting to was meat.
yeah.
So it was like trusting that. But I've like and that's the type of people that I work with, it's like people that come to me, they're like, "Well, my doctors just think that I am." I'm just a lost cause. And it's like, I thought I was a lost cause too. I thought I was a lost cause most of my life because I had all these, I mean, the last 13 years were probably the hardest, but if I look back at my entire childhood and my lifelong mysterious illnesses that just waxed and waned my entire life, and how many doctors I went to, it was like all they did was just another doctor, another prescription.
Another
And
pill. Yeah.
that's all it was nobody ever asked my parents, well, what is she exposed to? What is she um what's her home life like? What is her diet like? What's her act? Nobody asked that.
Hmm.
So I just like I can't imagine the rest of society who's still asleep, that are still, you know, looking at symptoms or looking at these root causes, because that's what they do. These specialists, they
Yeah.
diagnose you, right? So they diagnose you with lupus and diabetes, and they diagnose you with MS and chronic fatigue syndrome and vasovagal and autonomic dysfunction and mast cell. But they're like, oh, that's the root cause. And it's like, I see this all the time,
Yeah.
not just with my clients, but like you go on a Facebook group and you're like, oh, and you see people, oh, I finally got a SIBO diagnosis. And
I know.
I'm like, and you think like, and I feel so badly because I'm like, oh, these poor souls think that they're getting a root cause when I'm really sorry, honey, but that's just a symptom of something deeper that's going on in your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And that's what I hate about these specialists, because they're taking these poor people's symptoms, they're slapping a diagnosis on it, and they're saying that's what it is, but they're not. But I know, and that's what they did to me. And I was like, I remember looking at my doctor and I said, so you're telling me now that we have a diagnosis of autonomic dysfunction, and at the time, I mean, I'm 41 now, so this was at like 35 years old when I failed the tilt table test because I was passing out. And they're like,
Hmm.
well, we finally have a diagnosis for autonomic dysfunction. And I said, so you're telling me at 35, I have a diagnosis of autonomic dysfunction, and you're giving me that as the root cause of why I'm fainting? How is that possible? I'm 35 years old, not 95. I could understand that if you're like, oh, you have autonomic dysfunction, you're 90 years old. Okay, I can kind of get that. But my blood is pooling to my legs and it's not coming back up to my brain.
Hmm.
And that's just because my nervous system is damaged. How is it damaged? It wasn't damaged 2 months ago
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So what is this damage? And why are you not focusing on finding out why? Why are you just more focused on finding uh, your version of a root cause? And like I said, I see this all the time when people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I finally got a diagnosis of dysautonomia," and I'm like, "Honey, you're 15 or you're 25, and you should not be having a diagnosis of dysautonomia unless you were born with some sort of birth defect or
Yeah.
some sort of um, imperative mobility or something. But if it's just developed out of nowhere,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like I caught diabetes. Really.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like
Yeah.
again, then that's like I understand if you're born like that and you get
Yeah.
type one,
We're
that's a
not type.
totally different.
We're not talking
But
type one, but like
right,
type
type
two
two,
in an
exactly.
adult. You're well. God, now they're getting type 2 diabetes is getting younger and younger. But yeah, it's like, what do you mean? You just magically caught this? No, it's been happening for
Right.
years,
So,
decades.
so what is it that's driving these infections and these illnesses? And and that's why I can't handle Western medicine. I mean, Western medicine has its place. I mean, yes, it did, and it almost killed me, but it did save my life when it found the
Yeah.
cancer. I mean, I was able to get the cancer out, and I didn't have to do chemo or radiation. Um, but I know that a lot of people can have been reversing their cancer with carnivore and
Oh,
doing energy
yeah.
work, and
Yeah.
so
But
uh,
that's something that we can sort of touch on too. It's because like why this is, and I've had videos taken down. I've had videos because if I don't. everybody out there, you know, somebody in your immediate vicinity that has dealt with cancer or has passed away recently. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why aren't we talking about holistic practices? You can still do the Western medicine thing, but go
Right.
get a go find a Rife machine. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yes.
I'm
I
doing it.
love Rife machines.
But why would you not be? Why can we not talk about this? I've just like recently, my mom's best friend, my auntie Sandy, passed away 3 weeks ago with her battle. It was very quick, you know, within 6 months, dead. And I'm like, did one doctor talk about any holistic practices whatsoever? Like anything? Get out in the sun, stand on the ground, listen to some like crystal sound, Tibetan sound bowls, something. No, nothing. It's
Yeah.
all, it was all, and the chemo actually killed her. It wasn't, she was
That's
the
always
unfortunate
usually
one.
it. That's usually it. The chemo always does kill you because it lowers your immunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And,
know,
but it blows my mind that we can't talk about these alternative healing modalities in for serious cancer therapies. Like, why are we not Reiki? Why are you not? What's the cost? I don't understand this. Like, this blows my mind. And then when we try and talk about it, you can see big business shuts it down. I mean, I don't really think that I'm that much of a dick that I should be getting my videos taken down when I'm talking about my experiences and somebody that I
agreed.
love is suffering. That's ridiculous. You know,
Agreed.
whether I'm calling out the big industry or big, like, I mean, that just shows you that this is ridiculous. And I mean, I'm not only a believer in different healing practices, but wouldn't that be the time to get your mind open to some like alternatives that are that how go laying at a sound bath? What's the cost? You know what I mean? Compared to the possible benefits compared to the what they like, it doesn't make sense to me. That
I agree. I agree. And there's there's so much that people just need to understand that there is ways to heal outside of this hamster wheel.
yeah, well,
And
like you
that's the thing,
say,
is it's fear. There's
yeah.
so much fear to leave the hamster wheel.
And that's what people don't realize, and I think you probably agree with me pretty strongly on this. Nothing heals you. Nothing. You heal you. You can
Yes,
you can you can influence, you can stimulate, you can impede, but your body wants to heal, and your body's the only thing that heals. It's it.
that's
So
right.
giving it the right environment is probably a good idea.
That's
And
right. That's right. And that's what, and one of the things that I always tell like my clients are like, like they'll sometimes say like, "Oh my gosh, you healed me." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm not here to heal you. I am here to hold space for your healing, first of all. And second of all, I'm here to give you the space to heal yourself.
yes,
I
yeah,
am I am just the faucet.
yeah, yeah,
Like I'm just the
yeah, yeah,
faucet.
yeah.
This energy that I'm channeling is the water, and
Mm,
you are healing yourself with this water. I am not a part
yeah.
of that. I'm holding the space for that. And
And that's the thing with, when we look at medications. I'm not saying sometimes it's not a place for some of them, whatever. Even in some situations you want to numb the pain, it could be unbearable. I'm okay. We sure. I think it was railroaded with the addictive side of opiates. But I mean, I'm not saying there's not a place for some medications and some things, but relying on medications to survive, like lifestyle medications, that saying alone drives me nuts. Like, for you have high blood pressure, you're going to need this for the rest of your life. What?
mm,
What are you
mhm.
saying here? Like, I'm that defective that now, because thank the Lord that the medications are keeping me alive for that doesn't make sense to me. And I'm actually doing a little project, which is I don't know about your take on this. Maybe how are you for time?
I'm good.
Okay, cool, good, because I like talking to you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Me too.
Um,
Me too. I can talk about this stuff all day.
I'm starting, like, I'm seeing this ridiculousness with the GLP ones. And now I'm not saying they're not, there's no place for them. Like if you're morbidly obese and you're severely diabetic, there might be some, sure. I'm not saying that. They would be a tool to use, but you still have to deal with your metabolic health. But I'm talking about this glorification, these celebrities making it so easy. It's another quick fix. And I'm like, this is going to go horribly wrong. We're already like the non-communicable diseases, the obesity crisis, because it is really, it's like, this is the way out of it. It drives me nuts. So I'm starting life after GLP-1s because I think in a year or two, we are going to get some serious backlashes from the people that just willy-nilly go, oh, I'm just going to do it. There is no support, none. And it breaks my heart because from our conversation, even just today, like if you don't understand what's going on and you just take this drug to just, what do you think's going to happen? You
Right.
know?
I have some theories about that too,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
um, I feel that certain GLP-1s, from what I've looked at, can help a lot with people that have mast cell issues. And I'm not talking
Okay.
about a full dose. I'm talking like
Yeah.
a tenth of a dose. It does help with
Yeah.
um, releasing, I mean, to lower the inflammation. And basically, you want to stack that with something. I'm not a peptide expert,
No.
but from what I've learned, because I am dealing with some inflammation,
Yeah.
and I've been looking and researching my labs. I'm going to get more lab work done because I've been traveling a lot. There's been a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
I'm like 41 now, so there are things that I am noticing. But the problem is well, first of all, that if you are looking for an anti-inflammatory dose with GLP-1, you need to microdose it, but also stack it with something like BP 157, or
Okay. Yeah.
something like that. But so I'm like, I'm going to share this. It's the first time that I've shared this. It's something that's been on my chest lately. So I'm glad that we're
Mm.
having this conversation, because I've been trying to figure out what's going on with my body. I've been gaining a lot of weight lately, like
Okay.
a lot. And I'm strict lion. Like
Hmm.
I'm a strict lion. I only eat red meat, salt and water, and do all the things right, And I don't know what's going on, but I did a whole analysis of my labs. And the thing that I got was I'm gaining this weight. And I mean, I've been carnivore for 5 years, and I did use carnivore to gain weight. And then I got to a good place and
Yeah.
my body was like, good, we're good. And I've been pretty good.
Mm.
And then I went to Europe and I started doing OMAD. And I
Okay.
started putting a lot of stress on my body. I wasn't eating enough.
Hmm.
And I put and over the course, like, I learned of the behavior of OMAD and was doing that. And as a woman, doing OMAD for a very long time was not the best. And I'm
Mm.
thinking about all these ladies right now that are doing these mega doses of
Yeah.
these GLP-1s, and yeah, they're going to lose weight. But then what happens, like what's going on with me right now, is that I underfueled my body. My leptins dropped super, super low. So my body has been thinking it's been in a famine state
Yeah.
because I have not been eating that much.
Hmm.
So my metabolism has slowed down, and I take responsibility. I mean, I was not knowing what I thought I was eating enough, but I
Yeah.
guess I wasn't.
Uh-huh.
And so I've gained 25 pounds in the last year. And I've looked at like everything now because I've got a full history, and it's like and it literally we look at is exposure, sure, but but the main picture that we are looking at is my under eating. And
Mm.
I think about these GLP people that are on these GLP-1s that are under eating, they're losing muscle.
Yeah.
So like I lost muscle,
Hmm.
and then eventually their metabolism is going to slow down, and then they're going to start gaining subcutaneous fat or
Yeah.
visceral fat.
Just with that. Yeah.
And so I think that's something that maybe right now might be like the so exciting because everybody's like woo woo woo, but I
Yeah.
think that there is something that you need to make sure that if you're doing this, like, and then the slow motility, like You're
Yeah.
not getting the toxins out of your body. And people like me that that have already have slow motility,
Mm,
having something like a GLP-1 is just gonna keep that those hormones
yeah.
not metabolized, because you need to be going to the bathroom because you need to get the estrogen and
Yeah.
clear your estrogen out. So
Well, I think
when
you mentioned something there too. Like there is some anti-inflammatory properties, and the difference between a microdose and somebody that's just going in like, oh, cool, I don't have to eat well, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to go to the gym, I can just jab this thing and I'm good.
yeah,
Oh my lord, like
yeah,
this is so far. Like if you do the worst part of it is it all ends the same way. You need to understand your metabolic health. It just
yes,
at least get the foundations in order. That yes, this is going to slow down your metabolism as you're on these things. You need to make every ounce of food you eat
count.
count, right? Like, and that's where it's frustrating. It's wild that you say that because I know most of my clients they undereat and they don't
Yeah,
believe me, and I'm like, you don't understand. We've been programmed with this eat less, move more. Eating less is not necessarily and I mean I'm usually OMAD, but I mean I even question myself sometimes. And lately I've been fasting a little bit more because I'm kind of preparing for the for war times. I'm like,
yeah,
this sounds really
I
bad.
get
I don't know. I
it.
don't know how this is gonna work, but panic sets in, I'll
Yeah.
be fine. So I'm just getting in my 2 3 day fast in once in a while. Every week I do 1 or 2 3 day fast. It's just the way it is. But I'm usually
And I
OMAD.
love it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I love OMAD, I love the fasting, but from what my analysis looks like right
Yeah.
now, it said I've overdone it. I
Yeah.
overdid my fasting. I was, I could fast like that, and I
Yeah.
was, every Thursday, I didn't eat. I didn't eat on Thursdays, and
Yeah.
I intermittent fasted all day, and so what I'm what I'm noticing is that all of those extra fasts that I've been doing just have been down regulating my hormones. And I'm, somebody who's already very sensitive with my hormones just based on my genetic disposition. So
Yeah.
I do feel that men can get away with more
Yeah.
fasting than
Yeah.
women because,
Well,
we've got cortisol and
of course. Yeah.
estrogen
And
and
I
other
mean,
things.
I mean, I my girl, she has endometriosis. So like, and actually that's how we met. She came to me. Well, when we connected, I was like this weird diet guy, and she was like, I want to try this. I want to see what's going on. And she was endometriosis for 25, almost 30 years of her life, 7 days of the month, hopefully not in the hospital.
Oh
Bottles,
gosh.
she would take a bottle of extra strength Advil in 7 days. That's not including the hardcore painkillers that she would be prescribed. The doctors thought it was in her head. Anyway, so I kind of
So
became a little bit of, I'm very familiar with the woman's cycle, and we have to be. She eats differently than me, especially when the fasting, because we are so focused on how she feels. And it's funny because over the last couple months, and believe, like over the last 2 years, she's 95% better. Like her cycles now, she's got one bad day. Usually, it's kind of some cycles are good. One day compared to 7 days of hell, she can travel now, which is amazing. Like that's
that's
huge.
wonderful. That's
But the
huge.
but the women's hormones, man, it's like, guys, like I say this on my podcast all the time. Like you need to get over yourself and realize, like, holy shit, all those times in school, and it's kids, when you're saying your girls are PMSing and they're emotional. If you understood one lick of a hormonal cascade of the female cycle, you would be shutting up. So we need to support our women and our mothers and our friends, and like it's very important. Anyway, she's now very intuitively gone to lower fat, but seems to gravitate towards closer to her cycle, higher fat. Fasting sort of after it's done into the start of the new one. The first couple weeks she'll fast a little bit, but then the last couple, just she's like, it just doesn't do right in my body. So I think that's something that that's very important for women to, because I don't believe in, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't believe in like intermittent fasting. You eat 16-8, you eat 18-6. I don't like that because it sets us up for
Eating
program.
disorders.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we become very like I always feel like I've always I've always been really health conscious, and so when I started doing intermittent fasting, I noticed that sometimes, especially in the winter time, when I try to eat between the sun, when the sun's up and the sun's down, and then it gets all stressful. Oh my gosh, I have an event and I'm eating dinner now at 8 o'clock, and I should have been done at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, this is so stressful. If I want to eat at 8 o'clock, I just want to eat at 8 o'clock and just call it a day.
Yeah.
But we put so much stress into our eating windows and fasting windows, and it's like, can't we just listen to the rhythm of our body? and
Yes.
and and that's what I feel like, that's what we're missing. We're all disconnected from
Yeah.
our body's voice.
Mhm.
Our body's been trying to communicate with us and talk to us, but we're just too blocked to listen.
No kidding. And let alone breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, who said that?
Right,
Who said that? Well, I mean, I know who made breakfast the most important meal of the day, but
right.
but why do I need to eat between the hours of this and this? Like, who said that?
Yeah,
Whenever in nature would that have been a thing?
right.
I would have said we probably would get pretty good at getting food, then figured out a way to store it and preserve it so that we had it. And then when we didn't
Yeah,
have it, we got pretty good at not at trying to get more of it. Like that's it,
right.
you know?
Yes, I agree. And they say, well, our ancestors didn't eat all the time. I'm like, but they would have if they could have.
Yeah,
It wasn't like they didn't. They were programmed. They weren't programming themselves to not eat. They were basically just not eating because they didn't have the resources. And then when they did,
yeah,
they feasted.
yeah. They studied
So
migration patterns. They did not study the time that it would
they
take to.
didn't have clocks. They
Yeah,
didn't have watches. They weren't like, "Hey guys, it's we've got 5 more minutes yet before we can eat our first meal
yeah,
today."
yeah. And I mean, I think that tying it back into the GLP-1 thing. I think that's where it just gets so muddy because there's so much glory without thinking. And I I don't know how, just by the example that I've come to find in our modern ways, this is going to
Mm,
be catastrophic because there's going to be so many people that are
yeah.
just, there's that telemed bullshit that Serena Williams is like. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know. I think it's called Row. It's like dial up specifically for GLP-1s.
Oh, I saw that.
What?
Yes.
Like specifically for GLP. So now not only are we advertising pharmaceuticals, but we're making hotlines to access the ones that are deemed benefit. Like,
Healthy and safe.
it's crazy, man. So
Mm.
I'm putting together, and maybe we could have you on and have a couple a little talk, because I want to like just bring the awareness to help people regardless, with no judgment. Like, I don't care. I just can see this get going wrong, and there's going to be people going, what? I didn't realize this was going to happen. And it's like, oh, okay, we need to have some places where they can go, because it's frightening.
No, I really agree. And I've seen a lot of negative side effects from these
Yeah.
these drugs. And a lot of these doctors, they don't understand the dosages either. I mean, nobody knows the right dosage for you, and I don't even know how to dose. I think peptides could be really beneficial, but I mean, I'm not talking about like GLP-1s, but I'm
No,
talking about the
yeah,
other,
no, for
they
sure.
can be really beneficial. But the thing is I like I don't even know, how do you know how much to dose? Like,
Yeah.
who's dosing them?
And
How do
who's
you
tested them?
know?
How
And
long have
who's
they done
testing?
it? Yeah, yeah.
It's so it can be very frightening. And I had a friend, and I had to get him off the GLP-1 because I was
Oh,
like, you are getting way too skinny. And I could see it, and I could see death in his
yes,
face.
yes.
Like, dude, do you not realize that?
Mm,
He told me like, oh well, I didn't eat for 2 days because I wasn't hungry. And I'm like, do you understand?
Yeah,
That
that's
okay, like you don't even have the reserves on your body anymore to fast for 2 days. Like there's nothing, you don't even have subcutaneous fat. Like there's nothing on you. This
yeah.
is not okay. And I do feel that it changes the brain chemistry
Of
in
course
people's
it does.
brains.
Of course it does. Because there's so many factors, Angela. There's so many. There's our programming. There's our influences. Then there's our actual neurotransmitters that aren't getting nourished. And then you get what happens when these things are successful. You have this side of things that no one talks about either. It's like I couldn't lose any weight for 30 years. I finally got to lose 15, 20, 25, 35. Holy shit, this is awesome. What happens to your psyche,
Right. You want to keep going. And it
right?
becomes like, think about
Yeah.
anorexia people or bulimic people with eating disorders, right?
Mhm.
They start out with just, oh, I just want to lose 10 pounds. And then they see the 10 pounds and then it's like, oh, I want to keep going. Before they know it, they're 65 pounds. And it's like they still think that they need to lose weight. And it becomes an illness. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people getting addicted to the high of the weight loss and to the point where now they're going the opposite way. They're
I
now getting too small and it's scaring me because I'm wondering at this point, how many people are going to start, keeling over
yeah.
because they're undernourishing themselves and causing some real issues because there's not enough nutrition getting to their organs and their
No
tissues and their
kidding.
muscles and
Yeah.
and
And I mean, and that's we can sum it up in this like eating less shit doesn't make you
yeah,
healthy, right? Like it
right.
doesn't make you healthy. And I don't know if
No.
you've noticed this, but there's this like a lot of my clients, they get about 6 months in and then they get mad because the scale doesn't move as much as they'd like to. And I look at them and I'm like, you look beautiful. Like your skin is radiant. Your eyes are white. Your knee pain has gone away. Your thing, like you're two dress sizes down, or even guys. I'm like, I see that there's this healthy, vibrant glow about them.
Right.
That goes away. Like when you're talking about like these people that are dead, like that's that goes away. That light goes out, and it's
Yes.
frightening, frightening.
Yes. It really is. And like this, my friend that I was talking about, like I met him when he was on it and like met him in person and I was just like, there's something really off about him. And then I told him the truth and I was like, like I don't really, I mean, I've known you from like he's in the carnivore space too. And I was
Mhm,
just like, you need to go off that.
mhm.
And when he went off of it, I was like, oh, I actually felt like I got to know the real him
Oh
and
wow.
and see like, okay, so it was really just the GLP-1 that was really messing with your mind and
Well, it's
messing like it was hard to like have a conversation with him, It was I could tell that he just wasn't fully connected and
Well,
there was something.
there has to be something there because the biggest nerve and the like between the connection to the brain and the gut and like whatever you're starving the gut of, or God forbid you're eating a shit diet that's all the bad microbes are like, oh my, there's just so many things that just I just fear that people they have no idea what they're getting into. And for the ones that are willy-nilly about it, like that are just like, I'll just take some Ozempic and everything will be fine, and like give you an excuse to eat, it's crazy. And I don't think people don't understand what gastroparesis is, and they don't understand that
No,
your gastric emptying is actually it's if it doesn't happen naturally, it can be a lot there can be a lot of problems. And that is not
absolutely.
nausea. They say a side
Yes.
effect is nausea, but what's once again, what's causing the nausea? That's for another
Right. Right. And I completely agree because I do have gastroparesis. And
Mm,
so it's something that just being in the Lyme space and in
yeah.
my area, like we have to detox, if not every day, every other day. And I do on carnivore. I
Mm,
could not detox daily when I was eating more plants. And so when I see a lot of people that have estrogen dominance, myself included,
mm,
it's the your body, if your body's not not removing waste and you're not detoxing, your estrogen is just going to recirculate.
Yeah.
And so we need to get that out of our body. So
Hmm.
the fact that like these women are on these GLP-1s and they're not going to the bathroom, I'm like, all I can think about is all this estrogen that's just recirculating and being reabsorbed. And I'm like, you don't even realize this, but you're going to eventually create
And
estrogen dominance, and this is all going to backfire on you eventually.
then you have, and you also have, like, I was thinking about this the other day too. Is it because I've been doing a lot of research. I've been on, like, I know I hate Facebook, but I'm on it because I have to be kind of now. And I'm just doing
Yeah.
some, I'm trying to look at some groups and doing some. How many people, how many women are now saying, "Oh my God, GLP-1s have completely resolved my menopause." And I'm like, okay, okay, let's look at this here. Is it that, or is it the insulin that you're not spiking anymore? Like, these are,
Right.
you're just thinking this thing as and you've only been on it for 3 months. Oh my lord. Like, what happens when you don't get the nutrition and it's like way worse because your hormones don't have the building blocks. Like, I'm just sitting there going, are you kidding me? If I did, wouldn't it scare you if you took a drug and then it did some other miraculous thing that wasn't really designed for? And isn't that a little weird? Like, I don't, you know, you take it,
Yes.
you take a Tylenol for pain, and all of a sudden you grow another, you grow your finger back. Like, no, this is probably not a good idea. But
Right. Like
I
there's
don't,
something more to this Tylenol.
yeah, right. What's going on here? But I mean, and it's just, I'm not saying it does or doesn't, but if you're just thinking that this is the reason why your menopause symptoms have gone away, wow, man, like, it's frightening. And I
I
think
agree.
where that ends, and you're talking about estrogen, and it's like, if you're not eating cholesterol, let alone, eating fat, and
Mhm.
you're eating seed oils, and now you're on GLP-1s, and now you're, holy cow, like, it freaks me out. And I think this is going to they're getting so glorified now. They're even talking about, don't worry about insurance, we'll just give it to you for cheaper, we just come with us. And you're going to see the pharmaceutical battle for, between
Oh
Wegovy and
yeah.
Ozempic coming down in cost. And it's like, this, it's horrifying. So
No, I agree. I agree. And there's just so much more to the peptide space right now
yeah.
that's going on that I think can be very supportive with a carnivore diet.
Hmm.
But I feel like the problem is that the GLP-1 is like, it's like everybody's seeing the GLP-1 and I'm like, you guys, if you want to do peptides, like,
Yeah.
look, I'm not the expert. I will never, I don't even know, but I do know from what I know, from what I've researched is if you're looking for something that's going to support your body's ability to heal and deflame, like look into other peptides. Don't just go right for the GLP-1.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the if you're doing something for something, but if you're trying to
Yeah.
take something to not do something that your body needs, you're going to be in trouble, right? Like,
Yeah.
a little support, and even with TRT and well, hormones with there's a place,
Yeah.
and it's responsible, I guess,
Yes,
responsible
it's
using, right?
yes. Yes, exactly.
And I mean, and I think I'm not opposed to narcotics. I mean, I think there's some drugs that
Yeah, sometimes you need them,
I mean,
sometimes you definitely need them.
but I think it's always in the eyes of the beholder. And I think that's where it gets, like, really crazy. It's like, I feel you, and I hear your point, because I see this all the time on just pops up on my feeds is, oh, you got to take this peptide, it's miraculous, it does this, you got to do this, and if you're going to do this, just do that. It's like, okay, but I need to learn that, and I got to study it,
Right.
and I got to, I'm okay. I There might be some benefits, and I might choose to do it, but be educated, and just, that's
I
kind of
agree.
my thing. Well,
I
I think
agree.
I think we've done a good run here.
I think
No
so
problem.
too. We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. But I would love to have you back and get into some deeper. I don't know if it's pot. We went pretty deep, but like, no, I love
There's
talking.
always deeper.
I love talking about this, the spiritual side of things. And that was kind of my idea about talking to people, kind of like the other side of the meat based carnivore. Like, this is the stuff I'm very, I think people need to it can help a lot of people in ways that they might not be aware of. And
Absolutely.
you bring so much, experience, and your energy is, it's like I said,
Thank
it's
you.
it's coming from the heart. I can feel it,
Thank
and
you.
I think that's the epitome of health, is, that holistic everything. And that's, from the earth to the sky to the body. I mean, it's
Absolutely. The mind, the body, and the spirit. We cannot heal one without healing the other too. And it's something that, we can't out diet
no,
like an unnourished soul, and we can't out nourish an unnourished body
and it's
or
like,
out
just
heal or
just
like
yeah, just because, like we always say, you can't out train a bad diet. Well,
right. It's the
well,
same with
you're yeah, your spirit, your soul, it needs the body for sure. And I hear you. Where do people find you? How do people get a hold of you? And yeah, let them know.
so you can find me at on Instagram and TikTok, Meat Based Medium. And if you'd like to work with me or find out more about my services, you can find me at meatbasedmedium.com. And there's a little tab that you can fill out to have a free 15-minute consultation with me to see if we are in alignment to work together. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Angela Laro, Facebook, Angela Christine. And you can also join my histamine group. I co-run a low histamine carnivore or histamine intolerant carnivore group on Facebook called Histamine Intolerant Carnivores.
Hmm,
And we have almost 5,000 people in that group that just really support one another through their chronic illness, histamine intolerant journey through carnivore.
beautiful.
And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. And feel free to reach out, send me a DM if you have any questions. I'd be honored to support you all.
I think everybody should be getting a reading.
Yeah,
Get a
I would
hold of
love
Yeah, get
that.
a hold of Angela. Angela, just hang on for 1 second. I want to thank everybody for being here. And support the new channel. It's, these conversations, they're gonna be fast and furious about some not out of the box thinking, and I love it, because I think the world needs some out of the box thinking in these times of chaos. So thanks everybody for being here.
Well, thank you, Tony, for having me. It was truly an honor to be a part of your brand new podcast, and congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.